Have you ever sat by the phone, hoping it would ring, only to be met with silence? Have you felt the sting when your adult children seem too busy to visit, too distracted to really talk? You're not alone. Across the country, thousands of older parents are quietly experiencing the same aching question. Why do I feel like I'm losing touch with the people I love most? But what if the answer isn't in their busy lives? What if the answer lies in a few simple words? Words that might seem harmless, but carry a much heavier impact than you realize. In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 common phrases that many older adults say out of habit, love, or frustration, but that might be unintentionally pushing their adult children away. Now, before you think, "Not me, I'm always careful with what I say," hear me out. These aren't insults. They aren't angry outbursts. They're familiar expressions passed down over generations, ones you might have heard from your own parents. But here's the truth. In today's world, communication has changed. Emotional dynamics have shifted, and what once sounded like caring advice may now sound like guilt, control, or judgment. Stick with me until the end, because we won't just talk about what not to say, we'll explore what to say instead. Words that heal instead of hurt, that rebuild trust instead of wearing it down. This might be one of the most important videos you watch for the future of your family connections. Let's begin right now. 1. After everything I've done for you. Let's be honest. If you're a parent, especially one who raised kids through hard times, there's a good chance this phrase has crossed your mind at some point. And you know what? It's perfectly human. After decades of sacrifices, from sleepless nights and packed lunches to college tuition and emotional support, it's natural to want some recognition. But here's the catch. The moment this phrase slips out, "After everything I've done for you," it changes the entire tone of the relationship. Why? Because even if it's said out of frustration or longing, it sounds like a transaction. To your adult child, it can feel like you're presenting a bill for services rendered, and that kind of emotional invoice is hard to respond to with love. I remember a man I once spoke to at a senior community in Ohio. He had helped his daughter buy her first car, co-signed her mortgage, even took care of her kids during her divorce. But lately, she barely called. One day, he snapped and told her, "After everything I've done for you, I deserve better than this." Her response? Silence for 3 months. It wasn't because she didn't love him. It was because she felt suffocated by guilt. And guilt, as it turns out, doesn't build bridges. It burns them. Experts in family psychology say that when love is framed as debt, it shifts the relationship from nurturing to obligation. And adult children, especially those juggling families, careers, and pressures you might not even see, can become overwhelmed when they feel like they're always falling short in your eyes. So what can you say instead? How about, "I really miss our time together. Is there a day this week we could catch up?" Or even, "It means the world to me to hear your voice. I'd love to find a regular time we can talk." These phrases shift the focus from what's owed to what's wanted, from guilt to connection. Here's the most important truth. Parenting was never meant to be a contract. You didn't love your children expecting payment. You love them because that's what parents do. And that love doesn't need to be reimbursed. It needs to be remembered. And sometimes the best way to be remembered is by being emotionally generous without keeping score. Because in the long run, what we really want isn't repayment, it's relationship. And your kids, they're far more likely to come closer when the doors open, not when they feel they're being dragged inside out of obligation. So the next time that old phrase bubbles up, take a breath. Speak from longing, not from ledger. You'll be amazed at how much more your children will hear you when you speak with your heart, not your history. 2. Your spouse is turning you against me. Let's pause for a moment and talk about something delicate. You raised your son or daughter. You taught them to tie their shoes, cheered them on at school plays, stayed up worrying when they missed curfew. Then one day, someone new entered their life, a spouse, a partner. Suddenly, you're not the center of their orbit anymore. That shift can be hard, painful even. And in moments of frustration, it's easy to let a sentence slip out like, "Your spouse is turning you against me." Or maybe it's more subtle, "You never acted this way before you got married." But here's the reality. Phrases like these don't just hurt, they fracture. What makes this expression so damaging is that it places your child in an impossible position. It forces them to choose between two people they love deeply, creating tension not just between you and them, but within their marriage as well. Now let's flip the script for a second. Imagine your child saying to you, "I think Dad manipulated you into favoring him over me." It would sting. It would feel unfair. And most of all, it would undermine your ability to make your own choices. That's exactly how your child feels when you suggest their partner is to blame for distance or miscommunication. Whether or not you like their spouse, whether or not you understand their relationship, your child made a commitment. In American culture, especially today, marriage is seen as a primary bond, emotionally, legally, spiritually. If you attack their spouse, you're in effect attacking them too. I once heard from a woman in Texas who had been estranged from her son for over a year. The breaking point? She accused his wife of brainwashing him during a family dinner. What she saw as a passing comment landed like a grenade. Her son walked out that night and didn't speak to her again until after their second child was born. That's how deep the wound can go. So what's the alternative? Instead of suspicion or blame, try expressing curiosity and care. I know you both have a lot on your plate. I'd really love to find time that works for all of us to connect more. Or, I'm still learning how to best support you both as a couple. Let me know what works. These kinds of phrases do something magical. They honor your child's independence while inviting connection. They tell your son or daughter, "I see your relationship. I respect your choices. I want to be a positive presence." And that more than anything opens the door for closeness, not just with your child, but with their partner too. Remember, being a parent to an adult child means learning to love both of them and the life they've chosen. So if you feel tension growing, don't point fingers. Offer your hand, because bridges aren't built with blame. They're built with grace. 3. In my day, we did things differently. It's a phrase many of us say without even thinking. Maybe it slips out at the dinner table while watching the news or when our grandkids are glued to a tablet instead of playing outside like we used to. In my day, we did things differently. Now let's be honest. There's a lot to be proud of in how we were raised and how we raised our kids. We lived through tough times, we made sacrifices. We learned discipline, hard work, and the value of a dollar. So it's only natural to reflect on the past. But here's the challenge. Every time we start a sentence with "in my day," we may unknowingly create a wall instead of a bridge. To our adult children, this phrase can feel like judgment disguised as nostalgia. It says, "What you're doing now isn't good enough." It says, "My way was better." Even if that's not our intent, that's often how it lands. I once spoke to a grandmother in Minnesota who shared that she had made a comment to her daughter during a visit. "When you were little, we didn't need all these parenting books and gadgets. We just used common sense." She meant it lightheartedly, but her daughter didn't take it that way. The mood changed. Conversations got shorter. Texts became fewer. What happened? That one sentence made her daughter feel criticized, like her modern parenting choices were being dismissed. It wasn't about disagreement, it was about perceived disrespect. Here's what experts in generational communication tell us. Comparison is the fastest way to disconnect. And the truth is, yes, things were different back in our day, but today's world is different too. Faster, more complex, more digital. What worked in 1975 might not fit 2025. That doesn't mean the old ways were wrong, it just means they were for a different time. So how do we share our experience without sounding dismissive? Try curiosity instead of commentary. For example, "I notice parenting is really different now. What's it like raising kids today?" Or, "Would it be helpful if I shared what worked for me when you were little?" These questions open the door to respectful dialogue. They show that we're not just holding on to the past, we're trying to understand the present. When you approach with openness instead of authority, something beautiful happens. Your children feel safe enough to actually want your advice. Not because they're being corrected, but because they feel respected. In the end, being a parent of adult children isn't about reminding them how much better things used to be. It's about meeting them where they are now and walking beside them. So the next time "in my day" starts to form in your mind, pause. Turn it into a conversation, not a comparison. Because connection, not correction, is the real legacy we want to leave behind. 4. You never visit, call me. We've all felt that ache. Waiting by the phone, checking the calendar, wondering when the next visit or call will come. And in a moment of loneliness or frustration, the words just spill out. You never call me. You never come by anymore. But here's something many older adults don't realize. Phrases like these, even when rooted in genuine longing, can feel more like accusations than invitations. To your adult child, it can sound like, whatever you're doing with your time, it's not enough for me. And that message, intended or not, can quickly create distance instead of closeness. Let's take a step back. Think about how you feel when someone criticizes what you haven't done, even if you've tried your best. Most of us shut down. We get defensive. We stop wanting to engage, not because we don't care, but because we don't want to feel like we're constantly falling short. That's exactly how your children might feel when they hear these always or never statements. And the truth is, those absolutes are rarely accurate. Maybe they do call, just not as often as you'd like. Maybe they have visited, but their schedules, children, or careers make it hard to come every weekend. I once met a gentleman in Arizona who kept a calendar to track how often his daughter called. He believed she hadn't reached out in over a month. But when we looked back, she had called 4 times, texted twice, and even sent photos of her kids. His perception didn't match reality, but his disappointment felt very real. So what can we say instead of, you never call me? Try this. I really enjoyed our call last week. It meant a lot to me. Or, I've been missing our conversations. Would there be a good time for us to catch up regularly? These phrases shift the tone from blame to invitation. They show appreciation. They open a door rather than closing one. And here's something powerful to consider. When we focus on the quality of connection rather than the quantity, our interactions become more meaningful. A 5-minute phone call filled with warmth and mutual joy can matter more than an hour of tension. Also, try keeping a small journal of positive interactions, calls, texts, photos, visits. Not to keep score, but to remind yourself that love shows up in many forms, not just in-person visits. In today's fast-paced world, your adult children may be juggling more than you realize. Showing them grace doesn't mean excusing absence. It means recognizing effort, even when it looks different than you expected. So instead of saying, you never call me, say, hearing your voice always lifts my spirits. Let's find a way to do it more. When you lead with gratitude instead of guilt, love has room to grow. 5. You'll regret it when I'm gone. It's one of those phrases that often comes out in moments of pain, when you're feeling forgotten, left out, or just deeply lonely. You'll regret it when I'm gone. And while it may seem like a way to express how much your presence should matter, it's more damaging than most people realize. Here's why. Instead of bringing your children closer, this phrase often has the opposite effect. It introduces guilt, fear, and emotional weight into the relationship. Rather than sparking connection, it triggers avoidance. Think about it. If someone you love constantly reminds you that one day they'll die and you'll be sorry, wouldn't you want to distance yourself from that kind of sadness? That's what many adult children feel when this phrase is used. Not because they don't care, but because it becomes too heavy, too painful, and frankly, too manipulative. Now let's be clear. The feelings behind this phrase are valid. You may worry that time is slipping away. You may fear being forgotten. You may wonder if your legacy, your presence, your love is still valued. Those feelings deserve to be acknowledged, but the way we express them matters. Instead of presenting your mortality as an emotional threat, let's shift the focus to something more hopeful and connective. Try saying, spending time with you means so much to me. I hope we can make more memories together. Or these moments are precious and I cherish every one of them. See the difference? You're still expressing longing, still naming what matters. But instead of pressing guilt into the moment, you're offering a gift. The opportunity to connect while you're here, not to grieve when you're not. I once met a woman in Florida who had a habit of saying, "You'll miss me when I'm dead," whenever her kids declined an invitation or forgot to call. Eventually, her daughter admitted she dreaded answering the phone, not because she didn't love her mom, but because every call felt like an emotional burden. That mother made a choice. With support, she began journaling what she was truly feeling before speaking. Over time, she replaced regret-laced comments with honest, loving messages. Her relationships transformed, not overnight, but gradually. She went from being the reminder of guilt to the voice of comfort. Here's the truth. We all want to be remembered, but more than that, we want to be enjoyed while we're still here. So instead of warning your children about their future grief, invite them into present joy. Be the parent and grandparent they want to visit, not the one they feel obligated to. Because the legacy you leave won't be built on guilt. It will be built on love, laughter, and the memories you create, starting today. If you've seen yourself in any of these phrases today, take heart. You're not alone, and it's never too late to make a change. Many of us grew up in a time when emotions weren't openly discussed, where respect often meant obedience, and parenting was more about duty than dialogue. But today, connection with our adult children requires something different: emotional fluency, curiosity, and a willingness to evolve, even in our golden years. What's powerful to remember is this: the words we use can either build walls or open doors, and while none of us can rewrite the past, we have every opportunity to shape what comes next. By replacing phrases rooted in guilt, control, or disappointment with words of honesty, love, and grace, you invite healing. You remind your children that your love doesn't come with strings attached, but with open arms. So what can you do today? Choose one phrase you've heard yourself say, just one, and replace it with a healthier alternative we talked about. Practice it, reflect on it. Then, watch how the atmosphere begins to shift. Not overnight, but little by little, conversation by conversation. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 phrases resonated the most with your experience? Leave a comment below. Your insight could help someone else on the same journey. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more content focused on building stronger family bonds in the second half of life. Because it's never too late to grow and never too late to reconnect.